Hi guys, this is Matt for Game 65 and today we're going to do something slightly different than normal. As I mentioned before, I played chess and I know how to play chess, but I'm not exactly a grandmaster. I'm just like an intermediate or just past the beginner stage. Well, actually no, more than beginner stage. I do know certain moves anyway. The only thing I can't do is the openings. I think I just do them, do my standard openings. Or some certain tactics, but I do sometimes forget what other people are doing, so I tend to make mistakes that way. But I'm quite interested in going to blitz chess, which is quite interesting. I've seen some of the videos on YouTube. They look quite interesting, a bit more interesting. They only total game lasts for 5 minutes per person. So yeah, so let's start off. Well, this is Chess Ultra on the PS4, which I downloaded recently. What we're going to do is try to have a bit of a chess lesson, so you know how to play. I mean, there might be quite a few chess tutorials out there, but I thought I'd do my own. So basically, we're going to go for these different stages here to learn all different moves and the basics of the game. Okay, so we'll start off cursor movement. Now this is to do with just the game itself. It's nothing to do with actually playing the game itself. Okay, so this is Chess Ultra on the PS4. Okay, once we're going with basic tutorial, I'm going to go have a game as well. Okay, so movement. Bishops can move diagonally in any direction, but they can only move on a diagonal they're placed on. So in this case, it's the black diagonals. Okay, so they're the only squares that the bishop can move to. So anywhere along the diagonals, any amount of squares along their diagonals, as long as there's no pieces in the way, they cannot jump over other pieces. So the bishop is worth 3 points in the game. Okay, so I'm just gonna. This is just basically tell me what how to move the pieces. Okay, the movement of the queen. Now this is the most powerful most powerful piece in the game. I think it's worth 9 points. So it basically combines the powers of the rook and a bishop. So it moves up and down, horizontally and vertically. So let's click on that. Okay, they show you where the queen can move. I can see can move one square in any direction, and also any amount of squares in any direction, as long as there's no pieces blocking the way. It can move cannot jump over any other pieces. So I can move my queen from there to there. So that's the queen, which is worth 9 points or 9 pawns. Now this is the king, the most important piece in the game. The object of the game, chess game, is to capture or capture the king. Well, you don't actually capture the king. You actually trap him so he can't move anywhere. So that's the object of the game. Now you don't really use the king until right towards the end game or towards the middle game. Mainly towards the end game because you're going to need him out in the open, because there's fewer pieces out in the open there, like the major pieces. So basically, the king moves like the queen, but only one square at a time. And there you go. So any direction, one square at a time, and he cannot jump over other pieces. So I'll just move him there. So basically what do, that's there, go down. Okay, next the pawn, which is one of the most unusual pieces on the game. Basically 1 point, 1 pawn. So first, when you first start off, you get a row of 8 pawns going across in front of the major pieces. And when they first start off, they can either move 1 or 2 spaces. Like 1 or 2. 1 space or 2 spaces. But the 2 spaces only apply after the first move. If it's not moved before, you can move 2 spaces. If it's moved already, you can only move 1 space at a time up the board. Okay, so you don't have to move 2 spaces in your first move. You can move 1 if you want to, but that's your option. But once he's moved, you can only move 1 square forward during the game, and you cannot move back as well. The only piece in the board which cannot move retreats. You can only move forward. Okay, so that's a pawn. So I'm going to move in 2 spaces. Now that's quite a standard move, really, to move pawn 2 spaces in the first few moves of the game. Okay, the knight moves in an L shape. So basically, that's the pattern. So it's 2 squares up or down, up, down, left or right, and then 1 square up or down. So basically 1, 2, left or right. So 1, 2, left or right. Okay. Same across. 1, 2, left or right. Or you can do it the other way around and up to 9 L. So you can do 1 to the left or right and up 2. So basically that's the pattern of his moves. And as you can see, he can control more squares when he moves towards the centre, which is basically what most pieces, which is the aim of your openings actually, so you can get your pieces into active areas of the board. And that's the knight. And also the knight is the only piece can jump over other pieces. So if there's a piece there, or there, or there, you can actually jump over that piece out and go to that square. So don't forget, the knight is the only piece that can jump over other pieces. And he can move back as well, of course. So, can move. Okay, rook capturing. Okay, so basically the rook goes left, up and down, horizontally and vertically along the ranks and files of the chessboard. You can move any number of squares up and down on rank and files. And the best way of controlling a file is putting the rook in it when there's no pawns in front of it. Now here, you can see the rook here is able to capture 4 pieces. So the red squares indicate where the actual rook can go. It can go 1 square or all the way to the end there to capture the pieces. Okay, so I'm going to capture the queen. And the queen goes off the board. Now the bishop. Now you have 2 bishops in the game. One on white squares and one for black squares. Now they cannot move off the coloured squares. They can only operate on their starting squares. So for instance, you've got black bishop on black squares, he can only stay on the black squares. On the bishop with the white squares, he can only stay on the white squares. So that's the only limit about the bishop. But he's long ranging piece, so can go long distance to capture pieces. So here, as you can see, they're the areas, they're the pieces that the bishop can capture in the red squares. So it can go all the way to capture any of these pieces. Okay, the queen, the most powerful piece on the board. Now, she can go up and down, rank and files, diagonally as well. Now, she doesn't have to stick on the colour of this black diagonal. If she moves across, say for instance there, she would have to go on the white diagonal as well. But because of the fact she can move across to any of those squares there. So there's where she can attack. As you can see why she's so powerful. She kind of powers the powers of the rook and the bishop, but she can also operate on the different coloured diagonals as well. So here I can capture any of these. So capture the queen. So points wise, the king is value. You can't put a value to the king. Once he's been threatened or he can't move out of the way, that's the end of the game anyway. The queen is worth 9 pawns. The rook, second most powerful, is worth 5. Bishop and knight are both worth 3, and then of course you got 1. 1 point for the pawn. So the king then can move in any direction but 1 square at a time. So there you go. Now, this will be impossible because normally you can't stand in front of 2 pawns like that, which attack diagonally. So that's the difference of the pawns, you see. They attack diagonally. They don't attack the same way as they move up the board. So here, you've got the king attacked by 2 black pawns there. You will not normally see him in that kind of situation. You would normally have to move him out of the way. So here you can capture all these pawns here. Now I don't know why it's not highlighted. These can't move down there. Oh yes, that's why. So you can't capture that one because it's protected by those 2 pawns there. But you can move in any direction 1 space at a time, and you also capture 1 space at a time. So we're going to capture that pawn. Okay, so the pawn. Now I think I just covered this just before. The pawn moves differently from all the other pieces, maybe because of the way it moves, and it captures differently as well. So when you first start off, you can move one or two squares up the board, but when it captures diagonally. So here, you can capture those two pieces there, or you can move 1 square up. So there, the squares you can move to, and he captures diagonally. So there, and of course they can't move back. Now the knight is a tricky piece. You can jump over other pieces and can do things like this. It can do a fork, which is basically attacking 2 pieces at the same time, threatening 2 pieces at the same time. Now a quite a good type of fork is one where it attacks the king and the queen. So you are guaranteed to get at least a higher value piece in exchange for your knight. So there you go, there's a knight there. So these are the squares that the knight can attack and capture. So don't forget, it's 2 squares up or down, and then it's up and down 1 square. We go at an angle when you 2 squares. So 1, 2, left or right, up or down. 1, 2, left or right, up and down. And you can also do the other way around, where 1 square to the left or right and 2 squares up or down. Okay, so I'm going to capture this queen. Basics notation. So this is useful when you need to record your moves. Before we used to use algebraic notation, but now it's alphabetical, I think it's called. So let's have a look. So when I move a square, oh, hang on a minute, go back, go back. So as you can see, we've got let's A, B, C, D, E, F, G on the bottom, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 up to the top. This is from white's point of view, and then you got from black's point of view as well. Okay, so A1, square A1 for white is there for the corner piece, and then the corner piece over here is slightly different, H1 or H8 for black in that corner piece. So here, if I move my bishop on B, F6, so that's B for the bishop, F6 is where we're going to move it. So F6 is there. So highlight it. That's bishop to F6. So now it's like show how do we capture pieces and make a note of it. So it says here, move the queen, taking it. So queen, Q for queen, X means take, to e5. So move the queen to e5 to capture the pawn. Well, move the queen to capture e5. And takes the pawn. Moving out of check. So the king's in check here. So he has to move it. He either has to move out of the way, capture the offending piece, or go behind another piece to avoid check. If you can't do any of that, then he's in checkmate and the game ends. So I need to move the king away. Now they're the squares I can move to. As you can see, the diagonal is covered by the queen. So I can't move down to that square there, obviously. So the only squares I can move to are the ones in red, light red. I'm going to move there. Move out of check. Blocking check. So this is where you can block attacking piece. So that's another way of getting out of check. So basically what this means is probably we need to move the pawn. Move in the way of check. So basically we need to move the pawn in c2 to c3. Move to c3. Attacking check. So I can attack the piece which is threatening the king in check. So here, with a knight, we can take the bishop. So the knight on e2 will take the bishop. So that's k, x at e4, which is how we recorded. In this case, it actually is an n for knight. Knight takes d4, so that's how it's recorded. So the other thing in chess is to trap the opponent's king. So I can do this. Can be done in one mate. So the object game is to make sure put the enemy king in a position where he cannot move out of check. So that is checkmate. Okay, so what I can do to do this in this game, in this board here, I can actually move the queen out. No, it's not the king. But basically, I think it's the queen that needs moved out. You can move the queen out, move it down to that final square there, and you can see I can check the king, but he cannot move out of the way to avoid it. He can't cover the piece with another piece of his own. He can't move out of the way. He cannot capture it. Can't move out. So he's trapped. He can't move anywhere. So that will be mate. That is checkmate. By now you will notice that the different pieces all have different ways of moving. These differences make some pieces more powerful and therefore more valuable than others. This value is measured in pawns. So this is what I mentioned before. A knight is worth 3 pawns. Okay? Knight is worth 3 pawns, bishop is worth 3 pawns, rook 5, and 9, queen is 9 pawns. The king does not have a value as he is worth the entire game. Okay, so the knight here can capture the pawn or the rook here. Now the rook is more of a higher value, so we're more likely to get that one instead in exchange for your knight, which is going to be recaptured with the pawn there. So in this case, I would definitely take the rook because it's worth more. It's a more powerful piece. So you'll be up in the score out in the game. So I'll be taking that. So that is basically, if you're doing a notation, it's e4 takes at d6. So it's knight takes, knight e4 takes at d6. Well, he's going to be retaken, but yeah, taking my point is worth more. It's worth it for the price of getting a rook off the board. Right, the sacrifice. Sometimes you will need to weigh up whether to take an opponent's piece and in return place your attacking play in danger also being taken. This is called sacrificing. So what I'm going to do, so right, okay, so in this situation, I think it's white we're referring to. I think it's worth using the bishop to take the rook, because the rook is of a higher value, so that is worth taking. But he will be taken and captured by the knight, but it'll be worth it because he's got higher points on that. Wouldn't have done to do it with the queen though, because that would be worth. It would be the rook is worth less than the queen, so you don't capture with the queen in that situation. So this is castling now. So this is basically what it is. The king starts off in the middle of the board. Now that is a very dangerous place for the king. So what we need to do, we need to place him in a safe safe-ish sort of area until we get everything all the pieces developed. So here, as you can see, this is the only time where we can move two pieces at the same time. Now the only time that the king can castle is when there's no pieces between the rook and the knight, rook and the king on either side. So this is the king side, and if it's on the queen side, these three pieces should not be there. If those three pieces aren't there, you can castle the queen side. As there's no squares there, you can castle on the left hand side, which is the king side. Sorry, the right hand side. So what this does is puts the king into safety, out of the way, out of the centre, into relative safety at the moment, and brings the rook into play. So rook supporting another rook is a very strong position. Castling. So he moves two squares to the right, and the rook moves to the other side of him. Same with the queen side. King moves two squares to the left, and the rook moves to the right hand side of the king. Queen side. So this is the queen side. As you can see, it's a bit further away, so it is going to be slightly towards the centre. But at least you can get your rook towards the centre, which is the main point of the game. We can either move up there, but if he moves, whenever the king if the king or the rook move, they cannot castle. So if the rook had moved to there, you can't move back and then do the castling. If the king moved up there, you can't castle anymore on that side. You have to do it when you've got the chance to do it, when there's no pieces in between the king and the rook. So he's going to move two squares to the left, and the rook moves to the other side of him. The notation is 0-0-0 for the queen side, and king side castling is 0-0. Pawn promotion. Now, this is another thing that the pawn is different from all the other pieces. You can't move back, it can only move forward, it captures diagonally, and also when you get to the end, onto the 8th rank or file, right to the end of the board, you can actually promote it to a queen, knight, or any other piece basically. But most people will go for a queen because of that. The queen is the most powerful piece of the board. So here, the king can move to any of those squares there to protect it. Now this is where the king comes into play in the end game to support the motion of the pawns. Now this pawn here is on the last, going towards the last square, and here you can select out all these other pieces, but most people will go for the queen. En passant. Now basically what this is you've got a file, even though you're just starting, let's read the instructions here. You should know about the sneaky en passant move rule. You might trick other playing beginners who don't notice this pawn capture is possible. Only pawns can capture or be captured passed on very specific circumstances. The rule says if your opponent's pawn moves 2 squares from its starting position, then you may capture one of your pawns as if it had moved just 1 square. However, this can only make this move on the very next move, so you can have to do it straight away after their move. If you choose to make another move, then the chance for un passant capture is gone. So here, let's have a look. Now which is it now? Okay. Black has moved his pawn 2 spaces. So he's moved 2 spaces. Now this is where you can catch it en passant. You can actually move the king, it says there, or you can move the pawn. So you can actually move to that square there, as if he's only moved one space. Now you can only do it once, and you have to do it straight away after he's done his move. So basically anything on the 5th rank, 5th line of the board on both sides. So this is the only time I can capture like that. To tell you the truth, I've not really seen a lot of that happen really. Right, the fork. Now this is a good tactic. This is when you move 1 piece and it attacks 2 pieces at the same time. Move which creates 2 threats, it's called a fork. When you play a fork, it doesn't matter if your opponent sees that you're attacking these pieces. Your opponent cannot rescue both of his attack pieces. So here, the knight, all pieces can create forks, but knights and pawns are especially good at it. Okay, so knights are very, very sneaky. So here's the king can move anywhere around there like that. But look at this knight here, it's going to move to that square there. It can attack, it's attacking both the queen and the rook. Hang on a minute, I just missed that bit. It was 2 rooks actually, it was actually attacking 2 rooks, sorry. The pin, now this when you move a piece to stop a piece from moving away. So basically it's like a king in check, for instance. If the piece moves out of the way and leaves the king in check, then you can't do that, or it's not permitted. So for instance, so it's like a valuable piece. Basically it's like a king or a queen or something, or rook, possibly. So here, pin the black queen against the black king using the white bishop. So move that queen. So if I move that bishop down to there, it pins the queen. This is because the king will be in danger if the queen moved out of the way. Now the only way that you can get out of it is to capture the bishop, which is a good exchange for white because the queen is worth more. So he would have to capture the bishop. But it can't move out of the way because the king will be in danger. A skewer. A skewer occurs where 2 enemy pieces are attached along the rank, parallel or diagonal. When the more valued piece in front moves out of the way, the piece behind it is captured. It's the reverse of a pin. Ah, right, okay, so the valuable piece is in front and the one you want to capture is behind it. Okay, so here it's the rook. I'm going to have to move. So these can only happen in straight lines or straight diagonals. I move there to check the king. He has to move that way and we can capture the rook for nothing in this case. A very, very good tactic. So we need to spot situations like that when we actually play the game. Right, the first part of the chess game is called the opening. There are many different possible chess openings, but the objective is usually the same. Develop the pieces to useful squares. Try to gain influence in the centre of the board. Get the king safe. So that's the basis of the openings. The openings help you develop an advantage by developing pieces and gaining control of the central squares where your pieces are more effective. Watch the following sequence of moves from the opening known as the Italian game where the 3 important aims are put into practice. Okay. That's a standard move. That's a standard counter. Knights normally come out straight away because they can jump over the pieces. So you can castle straight away. Another objective is to castle early as well if you can. Okay, what not to do. A huge amount of knowledge opening theory has built up around openings. Many players have a favourite opening style. Books on the openings are very popular. A good tip is not to bring the king, queen and rooks out into the game too early. You might be given a target to your opponent's minor pieces. So your minor pieces are your knight and bishop. And your rook. Well, actually the rook is classed as a major piece. Okay, so that's the idea. You don't bring your queen out. You don't need to. You bring basically the opening is you need to develop your pieces before you develop your queen and your rooks. So watch the following sequence of moves as an example of how things can go wrong if you do not follow solid principles. Well, I've actually seen the principles being broken. Actually, I remember when I used to play someone at school when I was just learning the game. He used to bring his queen out straight away because he moves a certain sequence of pawns out. He used to mate me in 1 and 2 moves. So, while white is taking pieces, the white queen eventually gets pinned, a complete disaster. All because of white's terrible opening development. Okay. I would not normally do. Nowadays I would not do that. Now the queen's been attacked. That's wasted moving the queen back. We really should move towards the centre. Now the queen's been attacked again. That's another move wasted when you're developing. The boring opening. Don't be fooled by the title. This is an excellent opening for amateur players who do not know a lot about chess theory or have limited time to study. It's easy to learn and at the same time solid and aggressive play that keeps black counterplays to minimum, thus boring your opponent. White's opening move is d4. Play that now. That's d4. Right, black will often reply with what is known as the king's Indian defense and play knight to f6. Knight to f6. Right on it. Okay. Move that up. You try. Right, okay, white will play that d4. I don't know what happened there. Boring open. Okay, so oh. E4. So we'll play knight to f6, which is what is done. e4. Well, that's not that move there. Now bishop to b4. Bf4. E3. Now that's a safe opening. I thought that was quite a good opening, that. After 10 to 15 moves, the opening game is over and the middle game begins. The middle game calls for clever manoeuvring as both players try and gain small advantages in position. Okay. One of the most important things is to think ahead. So that's the main thing of the point of the game is you need to think ahead. Try to anticipate what your opponent might play in response to your moves. Also keep a lookout for a combination, a series of thwarting moves that might win you pawns or pieces. Watch your short combination where white wins the pawn. Both white and black lose a knight in the process, but black also loses the pawn because the black pawn is being attacked in combination with white knight, c3 and white rook at d1. So when you're attacking pieces twice, you've got more chance of having an advantage. Okay, so take that there. Because he's been protected twice, he gains a pawn. The classic bishop sacrifice. This sacrificial idea was first recorded in 1619, has been played thousands of times since. It's now an important but still elementary part of every player's chess arsenal. Okay. Begin by forcing the black king out of his safely castled position with... Alright, so you sacrifice a piece, so you gain advantage of a better position. So that's the sacrifice. So you're sacrificing a piece to gain advantage. Bishop to take that there. Okay, so this explains why we're doing it. Now, note the following factors make this sacrifice viable. 1. A white bishop on B1 to H7 diagonal ready to sacrifice itself. 2. A white knight on F3 poised to jump to G5 and hunt the black king once exposed. So the knight there is ready to jump to that square. And 3. A white queen D1 ready to follow knight on G5 or H5. So the queen is on the same diagonal as the knight and is ready to come out to follow. And then the fourth reason, white's dark squared bishop on C1 guards the G5 square. So excuse G5 square. So there, so you can see my bishop on the black square can actually guard the square when the knight goes to. So white's dark square bishop can on C5 guards the G5 square and allows the knight's safety as well as making H6 a bad square for the black king to run to. And the fifth reason for they're doing this is white's pawn on E5 keeps black defenders off king F6. So white's pawn in E5. As you can see, which is trapped at the moment, can't move forward. It's the one next to the just behind, in front of that white rook there, and that's guarding that square in the corner. No one can run up to defend, so it guards that F6 square, which can be quite important. Now black responds by taking the bishop and the sacrifice begins to play out. Move the knight to g5 and it's check. No, there's only 2 squares that king to move to, and he moved to that square in the middle on G8. Now play queen to H5. Check. Now he moves a rook out there. Now I can move that queen, the queens to check him again. Retry. Right, 2. Try again. No, that's not one. I did something wrong there, I think. Right, okay, so we'll take that pawn again. This forces the king to retreat. Now, queen to h5. Queen to f7 check. That's what I did before. Right, let's try that again. Okay, so we need to play the bishop. Then move the knight into g5. I think I see what I'm going here. But I lost the queen. Queen to h5. That's queen to h5. That's what I did. That's not check. Hang on a minute, I'm missing something here. I'm missing something here. No, that's not it, is it? Retry. Okay, I'm missing something. I take with the bishop. So sacrifice the bishop. Takes it the king. Then you check him again with the knight. Now play queen to h5, which is what I did. Now, see how black is unable to prevent checkmate or loss of his queen. h5, that's h5. It's not check. Move 1, move 2. Queen to h5. Ah, q to h5. That is the queen. Got here. But it's not check. Queen to f7. Check. What? I don't know what's going on here. How can the queen check that king there? Hang on, I think I've missed something. I'm definitely missing something here. So I've got that. Now enter 8. Queen to h5. Like, I don't know understand what this game is trying to say to me. See how black is unable to protect the queen checkmate. The queen's not in danger. It definitely says Q to h5 there. But it says about how black is unable to prevent checkmate or lose his queen. But I'm not attacking his queen. But it's not a check. And it plays queen takes f7. Ah, right, okay. Queen takes h5. Now move to queen to h7. Queen at h8. Finish on queen takes at g7. Okay, so I managed to suss that one out. Normally if I just played it by myself I would have probably noticed that. Okay, a transformation. Cat and mouse. A transformation takes place once the endgame is reached. In endgame there are a few dangerous pieces left on the board. This means your king can and should be used actively. Cat and mouse. King Queen versus King is the most common simple endgame. It is an easy win, but you must know how to win it. So you got to be careful as you can't put the king. Make sure the king has the enemy king has room to move elsewhere, while you're trying to reduce the amount of squares that king can move. Okay, so watch this king and queen. Watch this king and queen v king endgame play out. It's often easier to grab the king back with restriction moves rather than checking moves, but watch out for accidental stalemate. Because the queen is so powerful, you got to be careful where you place her when you're restricting the amount of moves the king can do. So as you can see, he's moving the king out in opposition where you can't move in front. So basically you're forcing the king back, but you're not checking him really, unless you really need to. Triangulation. Triangulation sounds complicated, but in the truth it's got a very simple strategy. It calls for you to step into the side of your king before coming forward. This allows you to turn that move over to your enemy and the opposite over to you. Triangulation. Look at this endgame scenario. White would win if it were black to move since king to e5 and black king to e3 gives white the opposition and leaves the pawn win of the pawn. Now the king's going to struggle now to get to that side. Okay, so that's the basics of the game. Okay, so we're gonna have a game of chess now on from chess.com. So I'm gonna give this a try now. I'm gonna play against computer player, and this guy is supposed to adapt his game to make it easier or harder depending on how I play. So here we go. So this puts into practice all the things we've actually learnt, lessons that we looked at before. So going for the openings. So no challenge, no help of any kind. Attacking the centre. I think can't put that anymore. Try to move pieces towards the centre. I mean, I can move my knight across to there to attack the queen, but she could move out of the way anyway. Or probably move back or move to there. Well, she can't move to there, can she? So let's try that there. And defend that square there as well. Because start to exchange in pieces. Now that king can't castle now. I can't really go anywhere myself actually. Okay, let's move that up there. Oh no, I just lost a piece there. You could have got me. This is the way I'm playing, it's not like Blitz, but some players play Blitz much better than I do. Can't go anywhere else apart from there. Not much use in the centre really. Don't normally like to double up my pawns, but So I can't attack that one there now. You can see what I was trying to do there. He just broke into his back rank there. Oh! That is terrible. Oh dear me. This is a terrible game. Ah. Can't check me. Hang on a minute. Where's that? There? Was it there? Stop the king from going there, I think. Queen. So checkmate. One mistake I made was with the queen, I think it was, but it don't actually tell you anything and then fully upgrade the thing. So it's a good way of improving your own chess as well. So that's a game on chess.com. Be sure to check that out. It's really good. You can register for free and play online games with everyone else. All loads of different people, loads of different rankings. And you also there's some really good players out there as well. But you can select who you want to play, at what level you want to play, what types of games you want to play, a blitz, a rapid, a full standard game, anything like that. So don't forget to check the site out. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the hammer the like button and click on the bell icon to get notifications of any new content. Thank you very much for watching this. Thank you.